we make long-term promises on short-term feelings. There is a lifespan to a relationship of meaning, and we try and artificially hold it together when it's dead. Some people just give up, and one drives on the shoulder the rest of the way, and just be, and they have dead relationship, but they just stay together because it's convenient and financially sound and all kinds of stuff. So the relationship is something that leaves you entire and leaves her entire, and you have something in the Venn diagram of the three of you together, the relationship, you and her. All relationships have a lifespan, and it could be the rest of your life till you die, or it could be a night.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. Welcome, Zan, for a fresh episode.
Mm-hmm.
I have a viewer question. Actually, this is not quite a viewer question. This comes from Heinrich, who's one of our illustrious members of the Amorati, and he sent me a short text with some ponderings over the word commitment. So we can consider this a little episode about commitment. And he was basically saying there are a notable number of men's coaches in our space at the moment who are kind of missionaries for commitment. And that's the word. There's all kinds of things that commitment makes possible. And it makes sense with the general life cycle, right? First, you go for abundance in the land of women. And then at one point, you go for commitment in the land of women. Right? Natural life cycle of the journey. So, I mean, I'm 8 years into a committed relationship. Basically, you two more. It's the thing that happens, and I get the argument for commitment, which is a lot of men are commitment phobes and might, for various reasons, various good reasons actually, or just at least get a bit twitchy over the thing of getting in too deep or stuck in a relationship or losing themselves in a relationship, and so you might hide behind your love for women, or really extend and milk your love for women for all it's worth as a way to not tackle commitment. And then commitment gives freedom. Some people think they're going to lose their freedom in the commitment, but actually commitment gives you more freedom because it removes the paradox of choice, and all of a sudden you don't have to date and have so many women in your life. You just have one, and then you can become stable and build something. So I get the logic and the argument of why it's good to kind of graduate into commitment. So Heinrich said, I've been pondering the word commitment, but it just doesn't really click for me. Something's amiss. I don't resonate. I don't vibrate with the word commitment, and I don't know why. And then he said, I went back through Essentials. I mean, he must have gone through Essentials really fast, or like had some kind of search feature, because he said, I went back through Essentials and I realized that Zan didn't talk about commitment at all. And I think he said the word commitment was actually not mentioned in your whole 90-day program. And I don't think it's a word that's ever been, picked apart or really mentioned in depth in any of my programs either. It's the word commitment's kind of missing from our Amorati lexicon.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'll say I'm certainly not anti-commitment, not at all. I'm in them, a few of them, right? But that word doesn't feature in our lexicon. But what Heinrich did point out is that instead of the word commitment, repeatedly he came across in you the word devotion.
Right.
And also the word conviction.
Yes.
So maybe there's something that you might have to say here in the men's, let's say the men's relationship advice sphere, which often says, hey, young men, you're fucking around. Yes, you're sowing your wild oats, but really you're running away from the real question, which is your adult responsibility and your commitment. You need to crack this, and you need to grow up, be a king warrior, archetype, or whatever it is, and commit.
Because I haven't talked, I don't use the word commitment. That's true.
Yeah.
Never thought of that before, but the word commitment to me is loaded in some respect. I think I do use the word devotion, beloved. I don't use the word obligation either. I think obligation, as I wrote in the book, The Alabaster, obligation is a sin, because you are obliged to something that you may not be completely devoted to. Devotion is a great word, and I'm trying to reclaim that word. Adoration. These are words I'm trying to reclaim I'm trying to forefront these words in our dialogue, in our discourse. Commitment sounds like marriage counselor speak, and the other word that I never use is compromise.
Hmm.
Compromise, relationship is compromise. No, it's not. It's not. I'm firmly in the belief system that there's you as a sphere of you, which is whole and complete, and you might be missing things and need things, and and want self-actualization and more excellence, and find a partner, but you are still a unit. Oh, in my view. And then there's her, and she's her own proscribed or prescribed is the wrong word, unit. And then the relationship is the third thing. It's something that you feed and water, you nurture it, and so the relationship is something that leaves you entire and leaves her entire, and you have something in the Venn diagram of the three of you together, the relationship, you and her. That's really how I see it, and it doesn't compromise her. It doesn't compromise you, your spirit, what you love, your artistic expression. You are still you. Now you might come together and learn things together, but you still individually pack that into your own system. So compromise, the marriage counselor speak of, you have to compromise in a relationship. That makes no sense to me. And commitment, the word is good at base. The definition of the word is good, but it's used in a way that it sounds like this,
So
you know?
can you say a little bit more about that? Like, if you unpack commitment, is it something in the etymology of the word that you take
No, no, no.
question to, or is it just like a personal kind of gut response, or from what
Yeah.
you've seen that this word leads people into
Yeah. It's not the word
creating?
itself. The word is sound, and the etymology of the word is sound. And it's very meaningful. It's like the word authenticity. Um, we use it, but it's lost its pristine cachet in some way. It's lost some impact because it's overused. But commitment is used too much in the fix our relationship problems, just like compromise is, just like communication is. They're all beautiful
Hmm.
words, but they're steeped in my views. This is my gut impulse against it, and I could be wrong. Is that it? Just they're saturated in this fix our relationship. She doesn't listen to me. He doesn't listen to me. That kind of, oh, you need
Yeah,
commitment. You renew the commitment. It's like date night. All these phrases. So I just have
right.
a aversion to it for no reason other than I don't use those words. We don't use the word authenticity, vulnerability in Ars Amorata either, because they're just loaded words, or love even, because love is loaded. We have our own lexicon. They already have their own lexicon, and 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 words we adore, like adore and beloved and uh, dedication and sincerity and empathy. These are words that we're trying to forefront, you know?
Hmm.
So so the idea of commitment, a commitment phobe, the man is a commitment phobe. I've noticed in this,
Let's just take a moment to like let that one land. Like, you already kind of pulling apart commitment and then just throw phobe in there, or phobia. Like, ouch! What a punch to the gut to have an image of myself that I might be a commitment phobe, and how many thousands of people will be out there in the world pointing at me as somehow not being
yeah,
a functional or well put together person because I'm
I
phobic
wrote a
about
lot
commitment.
about it in the Alabaster Girl, where I talked about, we make long-term promises on short-term feelings. And I also wrote that um, all relationships have a lifespan, and it could be the rest of your life till you die, or it could be a night, or it could be a month, or it could be 6 years. But they have their, sometimes the roads we're on, we're in two lanes together for a long period of time, and one just diverges. It's an exit ramp, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just diverges, right? So two roads diverge, two paths diverge in the wood, and but it's not a bad thing. It's a necessary thing. So there is a lifespan to a relationship of meaning, and we try and artificially hold it together when it's dead or dying, and there's no and people have changed, and the lane is really meant to diverge, but
Mm,
because of fear of loss, because of suspicion, because of how it looks to their neighbors, we try and cram into that lane and keep it as long as we can. And some people just give up, and one drives on the shoulder the rest of the way, and and they have dead relationship, but they just stay together because it's convenient and financially sound and all kinds of stuff. So when you recognize that, as I wrote in the book, that a woman is a butterfly that lands on your hand, is the metaphor I use, and she might stay there forever, and you curl your hand up a little bit to keep the wind away, but she might fly off. And if you hold her like this, the old saying, hold on tightly, let go lightly, so if you hold on tight like this, you could crush her and crush her spirit, and vice versa. So,
mm.
so I don't know. I'm saying a lot about it, but I think if you can wake up in the morning, I'll say something. I've been with Deanna for many years now, and never once did we say, "I promise you this something." We never said it, and we're married now. But was never, even in that, there was never this "I promise forever," and it was just more like, "I just adore you." I I smile when I lift up in my chair whenever you enter a room, and I really enjoyed my day with you today. I would love to see you again tomorrow. That's how I started the relationship with her. I wasn't dating her. Well, was I? You were there in those early days, remember? And I and
Yeah,
I and I was in and out of Bucharest back then, and but I really liked her, and she was the only woman that I was thinking about when she wasn't around. I kept thinking about her to go back to Romania and see her again, and something was just lighter in my. She was just so something about her. And anyway, um, all I ever said to her is, "What I'd love to stay with you. I'd love to see you again tomorrow." That's all I said, and I've been saying that for 14 years. You know, we never had this. "I promise that I will." Blah 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 blah. I don't have it. That commitment phrase.
yeah. Well, it makes me curious how what you said in your marriage, because from my understanding, I think almost everybody's marriage is a series of commitments. It's a religious uh, commitment, and well, always a legal commitment.
Yes. When we got married, it was something that was we were together for a lot of years before that, and there was something in post marriage that was just really freeing, as you said, started this conversation with.
Hmm.
Not freeing like, okay, I got that handled, and that's okay. Now I can turn my face to my business. Just I really amplified the care and affection I had for her. It's strange. I really have a lot of affection for her. I really like her. I think as a person, I think she's a phenomenal. But it amplified when we got married, which is strange. Um, Now, like I have this commitment now, or this obligation to make sure that it's just more like I don't know what it was. It just amplified my affection, which is really an interesting thing because I had a lot of affection for her before.
So a, a lot of men, and I think a lot of women would say something like, "Wow, sounds like you got off really lightly because, in my committed relationship, I have to make these commitments and promises, and if I don't keep up with these commitments and promises, I'm going to get a lot of trouble." Which is, if I all of a sudden
Yeah.
kick my feet up and sit back, recline on the sofa, and do what I want to do in my life, um, and I don't muck in with the family affairs, or I don't save for the future,
Yeah.
or put into her insurance account, or whatever it is. Then there's going to be hell to pay for, and I'm now
That's because
obligated in that. And how did you, on the first hand, manage to score a relationship or score a marriage where you seem to have a clean pass from all of the not only are you my partner, but you're my insurance policy, and you're my rock, and you're my,
yeah,
being in the world that saves me from the dragons, and you can't stop doing that, otherwise I'll collapse. This is a thing that a lot of women put onto men, and that a lot of men will go into thinking it's normal. And then they don't have a lot of leverage to shift certain relationship patterns later, because the commitments spoken and expected, like unspoken and expected of the other, because of our conditioned images of what a husband and wife should do, etc. Um, that can be very, very constraining. I mean, that's the cause why so many men feel terrible in their relationships and end up wanting to break up.
yeah, it's because I tell you, in my 20s and 30s, man, I was jealous, and I would be watchful and suspicious and stuff. Yeah, my 20s for certain. And that's slapped out of me. It's gone from my system. That whole concept of manipulation, jealousy, because of my contemplation, not because of you know of anything else. I know that the world and human nature is chaotic and things happen, but there's something in me that that really embraces idea that woman is in your life for a season. You have no claim on anything. She could change her spirit one day, or her desires, and want to move away, and you have no claim on that, because I do see it as me trying to become me, and her trying to become her, and the relationship. I really strongly embrace that, and the idea that this young beauty may be gone from your life someday, but she's not yet. You have her now, and what a celebration that feels in the morning when you wake up and there she's smiling. So that is the concept of gratitude that I'm writing about in my second book. But that gratitude appeases all the gods of jealousy, because she's here for a season. And hopefully the season lasts again tomorrow, and then the next day, and the next day. And so it changes the perspective of how you look at it, as opposed to, okay, if you don't have this Venn diagram of a relationship, then you're blended together, and now you're cohabiting each other's emotional space, and you're like, you have to make me happy. We do things together, we do things together in relationship, but my happiness is dependent on you being a certain way, and that's emotional blackmail. And and we give a lot of space in our relationship too. Is just another thing I thought of, like, a loving distance, the sixth love language. We give a lot of space, and she's got her own world, she's got her own trajectory, she's got her own career, she's got her own um, social network of things she's working on. I'm Mars Amorata. She's doing her design work, and we come together and we celebrate and we tell the stories of the day. So I really, gratitude, I think, is the to know that you could not have it, but you do, you know, and that feeling of, like, I've got to hold it tight because I don't want to lose it, because I'll never get another girl like her, which I had in my youth. that's been replaced by this feeling. I hope I'm describing it well.
Yeah.
Replaced by this feeling that the first phrase in my book, The Alabaster Girl, is all beautiful things must end. Otherwise, they're not beautiful. You know? So things are for a season. She's a butterfly in my hand, and she's here now. So celebrate it and jump for joy and be excited and shower her with affection while she's here, because it could end, but it hasn't yet. And so that replaced my containment and my, you know, the idea, like, and I know that people will recognize themselves in this. When I was younger, man, if I could, I would look over her shoulder to check her email out, just on the computer. And in all these years I've been with Deanna, I have never once, not once, looked at her phone. I've never looked over if she's got, Gmail up or something. I look away, and not because of anything other than I just don't, because that was me. That was me before, and I don't want to have a drop of that. I've never looked in her purse. She said, "Will you get my purse and get my wallet out of it?" I bring her purse to her. You take your own wallet out of your purse, just because. If I had that, if I went back to any of the feeling of that petty jealousy or suspicion for no reason, I would break my heart. I can't go back to that person that I was. So, but it was because of my contemplation, my study, my literature I've been reading, the shortness of life, the the Holy Spirit of beauty that I've been dedicated my life to these last 25 years, that my jealousy and my pettiness and my insecurities have been usurped by this real feeling of gratitude, because I have this beauty in my life today, and it could be another way, but it isn't, not yet.
There's another layer. I mean, this is all very clear to me. Hopefully, if it's not to the listener, you can write in the comments and let us know. There's another layer that's coming up to me, which is, let's say, for example, we are not going to do this thing as a committed thing in the way that people use the word commitment, but we're instead going to have a devotional thing which honors the way that all beautiful things must end and can end, and that neither of us are going to hold the butterfly of each other too firmly. We're
Right.
going to give each other a loving distance, and then give each other constantly generously offering more freedom to the other person. We're going to
Yeah.
have this devotional freedom giving thing. Well, on the one hand, that's a real recipe for what they call the Peter Pan thing, which is, well, I don't commit, baby. We're devoted to each other. I'll be devoted to you for as long as it lasts, and then at the end of, when my visa in Bali is up, I'll go back home and be devoted to something, right? So the opportunity for flakiness in this worldview is really huge. I'm going to say that. Now, on the other side of the equation, what I've seen, which is really important to say, is that there's a small handful of men that I would say have something in their spirit which is big and is inspiring to me, would do something like, you know what, we're not married and I don't have a commitment to you, but I feel this sense of devotion to you, and we have been through some adventures over a number of years, and I feel, even though there's no obligation, even though there's no entitlement, expectation, covert contract, commitment, even though we're not married, so there's no thing, even though I've got the prenup, like whatever it is, there's something in his spirit that still wants to provide. And some of these men that I've seen want to make, because they've been with her through a stretch of their lives, they want to make an important gesture of uh, provision that outlasts the relationship, let's say. Like, I want to do something for your protection. Because the reason why a woman would want a committed relationship or a marriage is that she can ensure for her old age and not have to fight for it and work until she's 75 years old, right? Like, there's
Yeah.
someone to take care of her. That's why she would want to commit and then clasp clasp onto the butterfly and not let you have an inch of space. So a woman who doesn't do that, who gives freedom to her man forever, is setting herself up for a risky deal. A lot of women's coaches would say this: you're setting yourself up for a risky deal. Now, what I and that's why you're forever dating these non-committal Peter Pan types. Where I'm going with all of this is some men that I found bigger than me and inspiring in many ways make big gestures of, even though I'm not committed to you,
Yeah,
I'm
but
providing something important for your protection and your future.
yeah. So I mean, you said a lot there, and I get it. Devotion. What are we devoted to? When I talk about the word devotion, um, we're devoted to maximizing, which is what you just talked about, the experience and the joy and the happiness of the other, of the one we're with. That's what we're devoted to her purest happiness. That's why this new way of thinking, if another man comes into her life, I, I also wrote in the book, The Alabaster Girl, no man can steal your woman. It's not possible. Not
Yeah,
possible for a man to come and steal your woman. She leaves on her own accord. She leaves because she has to, right? Um, there's something deficit. So if a man comes into the life of your beloved and she turns her face to him as opposed to you, metaphorically, what right do you have to say you can't have that shift of heart because you're not devoted to her then anymore. You're not devoted to her happiness, something like that, right? So it's like devotion, like certainly somebody will hear this and the women's dating coaches will say, well, you need commitment because Peter Pan syndrome and serial, you know, and look at this, the concept of open relationships, which are on vogue today, like open relationships.
mm,
Everyone's crowing on about open relationships and how wonderful they are. And maybe they are. Not for me. If I'm with someone that I really am devoted to as my beloved, then she's what I'm thinking about. I like girls. I like. I can't go out with you to a restaurant without looking at all the girls walking by. That's my nature, and I don't dial it down. And if I go out to lounge with some of the Amorata guys, I'm talking to girls that get them on Instagram. Hey, what's your name? Yeah, you know. And but my devotion is unflagged, and um, I think that what you're saying and what these, I don't want to say it like this necessarily, but I'm going to say it like this. The dating coaches that are saying that we should be, that there's a danger, it's fraught with danger if you in a relation with somebody like that. Yes, somebody who's just dabbling and isn't sticking around, etc. But I think that it's they're wagging the finger, I think, and they're not talking about what I'm talking about. They're talking about commitment, which is the word that they're camped on and they're using, and I'm not. I'm talking about devotion to the maximum memories you can make, the best memories you can make in life. When you're old, you look back and say, man, I had her in my life for that 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And what a beauty she
yeah.
was, you know, something
I
like that.
I mean, saying that, I still believe that there are many virtues in commitment, and I like that you're pointing out this finger wagging, which is this women's coaching industry of women. You've got to snag the best deal of commitment that you can possibly get, and then enroll your man for the best,
Yeah.
strongest commitment because you don't want to be old and left alone, right? And see the whole thing washed away. And at the same time, the finger wagging comes to our side of the court. Men, you want to make sure you're not a Peter Pan, that you're in here to build something, that you're going to commit and be a good man. Even some of the most kind of advanced seeming men's work and men's messages out there, the term of a good man or being a better man is very common, which is which invites huge judgment of self. Well, how do I know I'm a good man? inner boy in me wants to be a good man and not a bad man. Now I have to glom on to other people's values in order to make myself good. There's a lot of yeah. So what are you talking about with devotion? Let's just get out of this whole you know angsty kind of potentially
Yeah,
trapping
maybe
outlook of what gets bundled in with commitment. I kind of want to hear more about devotion, actually, because it's more than just a momentary chemistry, clearly.
for certain, and like, and it's this is an interesting thing because you're right that there has to be a feeling in that relationship that you're building something together,
Hmm.
that you that that you're in this for the long haul, and you're building children together, for instance, or you're creating something for the future of the both of you, and that's excuse me, that's inherent in this sense of devotion because you want the best for her and she wants the best for you, and so that isn't that doesn't go away. That's not like saying okay, but you never know. You know, as long as it lasts, it lasts. You don't have that defeatist endpoint type of thinking. You're the devotion carries you through for the rest of your. You don't want it to end. You don't want it to end. Um, so I don't know. Maybe I'm not terminologizing it well, and I'm only talking from my gut and my experience. I didn't learn this from anybody, obviously, but it just seems to me that this is the way I want it. That you create a relationship that has the only way a relationship can last is, I think, is if you give that complete space and freedom and adore and adore your girl. I don't know how else to say it. I'm trying to put words on it, but I don't know.
And then if she chooses to leave you, do you remain devoted?
Well, you're devoted to her spirit and her as a person. You're devoted to her maximizing. And if it wasn't with you, and it's with the gym instructor she met, then it how who are you to say no? Unless we look at women like chattel, like possessions, without autonomy, like we used to, back in the day, where the women are possessions of us, and I own her, and I control her movements and her. I mean, how many guys say to a woman that's dressed up to go out with their girlfriends, and they're mad because she's wearing a short skirt or she's wearing makeup, and it's so abundant. Men just get pissed off about that, and then and me, if Deanna's going out with her girlfriends, I want her to be short skirt and pretty and young and flirty. I want her to feel that men are trying to pick her up and interact with her, because if she loses that, she loses something fundamental.
Mm.
I'm happy when guys are, if she goes out and she's the pretty one and everybody's like hovering around. I want her to feel that she comes home and she feels alive and young and pretty and you know it's an important thing. So if women are not a possession, um, then what right do we have to gainsay her desire to? And I don't mean, and I'm not talking about fickleness. Women are just like they're fickle, and like they change their mind one day, and this is different. You
They're
wouldn't be
not
in,
on that
yeah.
level.
So, but this containment feeling, because she's a butterfly in your hand. She's not your possession, and she's here for a season, and that season you hope is for the rest of your life, because you just adore this sweetheart. You have a lot of affection for her and want her to succeed as a person. And if I felt that I was holding her back in any way, career wise, that I was a detriment or a burden to her in any way, I would excise myself from the relationship myself.
Mm.
you'd have to cut her loose, because I'm not going to be a dead weight. I feel like I'm dead weight. I'm cutting it loose. Let her soar and be free, because of devotion, because I really like her. It's because I really
The,
like her. I want her to succeed in life.
the, I think one final thing, you said, because I'm devoted to her spirit. You're very particular in the way that you say that word. You're not saying I'm devoted to her and just her, but you're devoted to her spirit.
That's right. That's very,
Why that extra distinction with the energy that you give it?
because she's a certain way, and she there's a smile in her heart when I met her. There's
Mm.
a mirth in her, a joy of life, and a kindness, and she's funny, and I'm devoted to that. I'm devoted to that spirit, to keeping that alive. And
Mm.
if it isn't with me, that keeps it alive. If she's with me and that spirit dies, or she gets dead inside, or she feels obligated to me, or she just feels the burden, and she's not having fun anymore. I can date night her, and I can buy her flowers, and I can say, let's try and rekindle the romance of that. But I'm devoted to that. I'm devoted to that smiling, joyful, love of life spirit she had when I met her, and I don't want her to lose it, no matter what. And if it isn't with me anymore, then so be it. So I am devoted to her spirit. Uh, that's what I'm talking about. If that makes sense.
That's such an important message. I mean, that impacts me quite a lot. When I got together with Adelia, I I was practicing tantra meditation and so on, yoga at the time, and I went to the teacher and was like, "Well, you have this great tantric wisdom of how couples remain happy and all the rest of it. What are some of your principles for relationship?" And I say, don't give me the cliche stuff like we all know.
Yeah.
Give me something new that I haven't heard before. And he said, and because I added that disclaimer, he kind of went in and gave me something new, and I really appreciate this. He said, become an absolute connoisseur of all of the conditions that are alive right now that make your meeting so
Mm.
profoundly impactful to you. Pay attention to how you feel when you get ready to go out with her. Pay attention to the names that you call each
Oh,
other. The early pet names are different from later pet names in a relationship. All that stuff changes, right? Pay attention to the way that you speak. Pay attention to your hesitations to come close, but also the anticipation. Like everything that's in this chemical reaction right
yeah.
now between the two of you, study that indelibly, like remember these signs and signals, because later on they'll be gone, and you will want a reference to come back to.
Wow, that's powerful, man. That's really, it's what I'm kind of saying. Like, remember these early days, and impact those into your memories, and consciously think of that. I'm going to remember this smiling, because because someday you'll be crying because you miss it.
Yeah.
You know, like,
So
how many men have been in a relationship, or women been in a relationship that was so beautiful and fun at the beginning, and it's gone. They would do anything to have those memories back, but they took it for granted when they had it. So I really
what
like
you say about remembering her originating spirit, the way she smiled, her mirth when you met her, is so crucial, because that's one of the easiest things that we forget. It's just
that. Yeah,
like, well, the decline happened so slowly that we didn't notice it go down, and we got to about here, and now we got to about here.
yeah,
I don't even remember, because I lost that image of who she was. All I'm left with is the image of who we've been when we're fighting about the groceries and the bills and who's going
yes,
to pay this thing that just popped up, right?
yes,
That becomes the remaining image of this woman. And that's why people talk about their ex-wives and talk about the torture that they've just left, like they've just come
yeah.
out of Guantanamo.
That's all they remember.
And exactly, forgetting the image of the first night when, they first locked eyes.
Now, having said that, people can change independent of your efforts, but
Yeah.
they can get more dismal in life, or down, the world beats them down, or they get more pessimistic or more jaded, etc. And maybe she's changed in that way, but I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure it isn't because of me. I'm going to try and preserve that mirthful, wonderful, smiling spirit that I saw in her. I don't want it to be because of my actions and the way I am, neglecting her or whatever. I don't want that. So I do my. If the world beats around and it changes, then it's time to move on to something else and her too. But
Mm.
I don't want it to be cause of me if I can help it. Maybe it is the cause of me no matter what I do, but I try.
That's another snippet or sentiment that we've got to underline and frame. Like, I don't want to be the cause of her coming down, because again, that we feel this way in our best moments, but when the ego is going, yeah, but I've not been getting what I wanted from this relationship for a long time, and our own entitlement and resentment kicks in, the willingness to remember that thing goes, right? So I think this is some of the challenge we all face, which is like, well, I ain't been getting the affection and the love and the sweetness that she
Yeah,
gave me at the beginning. So like, why would I want to protect that spirit? She's on the take, or she is a narcissist, and
yeah. She won't give me sex anymore.
when you enter into that kind of inner drama, well, things start falling downhill quite rapidly.
Very interesting.
I
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of deep stuff that came out of this. I wanted to say just about the word of commitment. Um, Again, I think the ego is a good thing, and I think commitment in many ways is a good thing. Like, I'm committed to this
Yeah,
podcast. I
yeah. I'm
don't
not.
always want to get on the phone with you and take my nose out of what I'm doing and all the rest of it, but it's great that we create this thing and go along. I'm committed to other things. So I think commitment is good. There's an adult sense of responsibility and grit and fighting through adversity together, which I think is very heartening and grows you as an
Yeah,
adult. But when Heinrich asked me, what what do you think of the word commitment? I could just think. I just sense that the base of functioning of commitment is the ego. Somehow it's like a personal will that wants to, very in all of its goodness, wants to fight through to
yeah.
create a better tomorrow with someone. But the base of functioning of commitment is the ego. And what you're talking about here with devotion, I think the base of functioning of devotion is something transcendental of the ego, whether it's like the deep heart, a spiritual heart, something sublime. To be devoted on both sides invites a grace that is bigger than all of the normal things that go along with commitment that we've discussed here.
I just looked up. Sorry, I'm listening, but I looked up the word commitment in the dictionary here on my phone.
Okay,
The
what did you
first one is
get?
there's two. The state or quality of being dedicated to a cause, activity, etc. The second one is an engagement or obligation that restricts freedom of action. And I look up devotion,
Who wouldn't be
and
a
it
phobe to that?
right. No, I'm not a phobe to that restricted freedom. So devotion is love, loyalty, or enthusiasm for a person or activity. That makes all the distinction in the world to me. You're devoted to her happiness and her maximizing her experience in life while she's with you, and after she is no longer with you. You want her to thrive and excel. That's how I see it differently.
Yeah,
And if I'm in
I
hindrance
had
to that
a
in any way, let it go.
I had a mentor a number of years ago, and he used to use the word capture. I loved this actually. I mean, capture, it's on one level it's worse than commitment. You just get that butterfly and stick it in a jar, capture. But he's saying, we are, all of us, part of the human condition is that we get captured by different things throughout our lives, and often we are captured by certain images. Certain qualities of energy or feeling since we're very, very young. This all has to do with the imagination and the psyche. But we are captured. Um, so to think that I don't choose necessarily my commitments, but I am captured by things
Hmm.
that are bigger than me, wraps me up in something. again, we come back to some of your language, you're wrapped up or caught up in an adventure or a story that is bigger than you. The imagination becomes so captured to the point that the whole being is uplifted and devoted into something. So I think one way of looking at seduction or romance is like a seduction or a romance is a story with a feeling, with an energy, with a time and a place that captures someone so deeply. It's like I would give my life to be wrapped up in this
Yeah.
thing that has captured me. And one of the great poems, I think it's Wordsworth, William Wordsworth. He talks about going to a party. He has a great fun in this country pub or something like that. And the next morning he's walking along the moors and just thinking like, what a good drink we had last night. And what a great spirit, what a great time to be alive. And he walked over and he looked at the countryside around him. And the famous line of the poem is, and I made no vows, I made no vows, but vows were made unto me. And
Ah,
on I walk, etc., etc. And today, even today, I walk on blessed, right? So the whole thing of something so beautiful captured him on that morning that he didn't have to commit to anything from his drive and his will to build a better tomorrow. His heart was kind of taken and elevated to a place where he's like, I freely give my gifts and my living life, my precious time on earth to be there, be involved, and be there for this fully with all of my gifts.
sure.
This countryside, this job, this work, these people, this woman.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what it is. Very interesting subject today. I never have these subjects preformed. Like you spring it on me as the recording starting. So I
Yeah.
have no idea what I'm saying, and I try and articulate it, but hopefully it came across okay.
Well, keep sending your questions in. Note to the listeners and to the viewers. Many of these good themes I get from your questions. So if I receive something that I think uh, pokes or points to a different place that we don't usually get to, then in it comes to the podcast. And I think rather than send you an email back with some of my thoughts, it's
Yeah, yeah.
more powerful to unpack it over a 45-minute podcast and send this out
Yeah,
to
it's
the
very
world.
interesting to unpack it. Yeah, very good.
All right, let's leave it here. Thoughts, experiences, maybe you're what's the opposite to a commitment file? Maybe you're a commitment file, and you want to denounce our flakiness here in the podcast.
Yeah,
Feel
yeah.
free to
You guys.
argue in the comments below exactly why commitment is a better
You're a woman
path, and we
coach.
are heretics and pagans and so on. Yeah, feel free to do that.
Okay, thanks.
All right.